Q Inc. And so great to see you all here today. Of course, there are a series of different installments, if you will, that are part of this series. And this series today is, of course, about Stand By Me. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get going, right? So you say, all right, Vernon, let's do this. What is this about? Well, there, of course, you see it says there, Reflections of a Leader series. Stand By Me is today's, and I am really excited. I've been excited about all of them before. Very excited. Today is no different. Stand By Me. And if you've been in any of my sessions before, you know that I really like to go ahead and look at current topics of the day in leadership, but take a different perspective, have a different spin on them, and really talk about, some different perspectives. And so very excited today about Stand By Me. Of course, there, as you see, the Reflections of a Leader series. If you'd like to go ahead and find out more about the previous sessions, you can go there to q.org/Microsoft. Of course, today, as we go through the session, if there are things that you say, you know what, Vernon, man, this just really resonated with me, I'd like to tweet this out. I'd like to share it on social media. I would love for you to do that for things that you have found to be really uplifting for you. Just go ahead and tag them with GETA, hashtag as well, Microsoft EDU, and hashtag WeAreQ. Would love to see you out there and would love to hear about, as I always do, things that I've shared that have really made a difference in your life, a positive, profound difference. Love to hear about that. So this moment in history for our nation and world, you guys know that I love to always speak to this because of the boldness and the courage of two entities, many entities, right? But there are two that I'm going to go ahead and highlight today. And those two, of course, are Microsoft EDU and Q Inc. for their global commitment to equity and for developing educators worldwide. I will tell you that when this project came together and we were in the planning phases of it, I got to meet a lot of people that I didn't know before, people from Australia and New Zealand and literally from around the world. And this has brought all of us together as a combined force to really speak to people literally around the world. So this is global impact. I absolutely love it. And I'm absolutely honored to be a part of Microsoft EDU and Q Inc. as their joint venture with this. So, of course, I'm that guy right there. Some of you may have seen this slide before. I like to include it in each time of sharing so people know a little bit about me. Of course, I'm Vernon Wright. That's my name. On Twitter, my handle is @TheRightLeader, as you see there. And as we're going through here today, if you have not followed me on Twitter already, would love to have you over there following me, and would love to have you as a part of my PLN. And of course, over there, we have a lot of just phenomenal people in a PLN. And I say this, and I've said this many times before in the past, it's really awesome that with Twitter and the PLN, sometimes really what you're needing and what really addresses and speaks to the situation of what you're looking to really have innovation with, sometimes is not the person who geographically is the closest to you. But through the power of Twitter and the PLN, we're able to leverage these resources that are literally worldwide. And so I love that. Would love to have you over there as a part of my personal PLN. Would be honored to have you do that. Microsoft EDU, the hashtag there, the hashtag GETA, and the hashtag WeAreQ, of course, as well. If you're tweeting out, we would love to go ahead and hear about that. Great stories about how this time of sharing has made an impact. Of course, as well, once again, q.org/Microsoft. If you'd like to go ahead and find out about the other sessions, some great sessions and other things that are really, really awesome that are going on. So there we have it there. All right. So who is Vernon Wright? Founder of ZeroApologyZone.com, entrepreneur, speaker, consultant, performance coach, leader. I'm so blessed and grateful to have had an opportunity to do many, many things and am looking forward to all of the really, really cool opportunities that are in the future. I really have devoted my life to one purpose, and that one purpose is really what you see at the bottom of the screen. And I'd just like to go ahead and share that with you today. And it basically says this: I help leaders to increase their understanding of organizational dynamics so that they can leverage talents and together as a team achieve the extraordinary through synergy. And so basically what that means is, I work with leaders to bring people together in organizations, whether the organizations are really small or whether the organizations are really, really big. And what we're looking to do is to utilize all of the talents that everyone has at all of the levels, right? Because when we're able to do that and bring people together, there is this magic. And I say magic in quotes, right? There's this magic that happens. And in the world of business and education and other sectors as well, we call that synergy. And that's how we achieve the extraordinary. And that's what I am just very blessed and immensely grateful to have been able to do and to be able to do every day through my business and through other pursuits and endeavors that I'm involved in. So just want to share that with you, a little bit of background about me. So the 5 R's of effective instruction, some of you that have been with me on my sessions before, you know that I've shared this multiple times before, and I like to share it each time. Real, relevant, rigorous, reflective, and refined. If you missed out on that session, and that was really the session that really kicked off this Reflection of a Leader series. If you missed that, of course, you can go over to q.org/Microsoft and you can find out how to go ahead and watch all of those sessions from before. I'll be sharing a little bit about how to plug into those sessions here in just a second, but this is a really, really good one. If you have missed different parts of the series, or maybe you're looking to catch up, or even you've watched all of the episodes, but you're saying, you know what, hey, Vernon, I'd like to go back and start from the beginning again. This is a great place to start because this is really what kicked off the series. And so, of course, there, as you see, Reflections of a Leader, transforming practices start with heart. Did that last week. What relevance do you have as a leader? Did that one before. Addition by subtraction, the 5 R's. And of course, today is Stand by Me. Tomorrow is Are You the One? Do you have the one in your life? That's going to be a really, really great one. I'll give you a little hint. That's going to be around some things around being culturally relevant. And that's going to be a really, really cool one. I'm really excited about sharing with that one tomorrow as well. And so there, if you've missed out, you can watch there as it shows at q.org/GETA recording. Again, if you missed out on those, want to catch up, or you say, you know what, Vernon, I'd like to go ahead and share this with some of my colleagues. They can go there to q.org/GETA recording. They can see a whole playlist of all of the sessions that have taken place. And if you're looking to catch up with mine, you'll see where it says Reflections of a Leader series, and you'll see my picture. All right, so quick question for you in the chat, if you would. Are you a coffee or tea person? What's your favorite beverage to have on the way to work or at work? If you would, in the chat, if you would just go ahead and type, are you a coffee or tea person? Or is there some other beverage that you like to have on the way to work or at work? If you would just go ahead and type that in the chat real quick. Coffee or tea person? I like to go ahead and ask this question. It's a really, really neat one because we have so many different personalities, right? And that even manifests through what we drink. We've had ice water, coffee again, good. I will tell you that from my perspective, if I'm at home, typically it's regular water, spring water, right? Or if it's not spring water, I like to drink sparkling water. Right, I like that. Now, if I'm out at a restaurant, and this is just kind of my preference, right? I like to drink unsweetened tea if I'm at a restaurant. If I'm actually at a coffee house per se, I sometimes do like to have hot tea. So yeah, if I'm working from home, I will have tea. Sometimes I like to go ahead and have some warm tea there as well. Again, if I'm at a restaurant and having a meal, I like to go with unsweetened iced tea. So I just like to enjoy all those different beverages. Sometimes I do have coffee sometimes, but not a real big coffee person. But I will tell you one of the things I do like about coffee, and it's why I like hanging out in coffee shops sometimes. I really, really appreciate and like the smell. Sometimes I've thought about just kind of having coffee here at my home just so I can smell that coffee. So good stuff there. And glad to go ahead and find out and learn more about you, right, as we go through our time of learning today. So what are some of the favorite apps that you have? Microsoft apps. You guys know that I've shared this before. I like to share it each time because it gives us an opportunity to go ahead and share. Of course, as you guys know, there's some of the common ones that are up there at the top: Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Of course, I'm sharing with you today through PowerPoint. I use OneDrive quite often. I use it literally every day. Great, great, great app. One of my favorites, Outlook. Of course, a lot of people use that one. They're used to that one for the calendar and email. Teams, of course, Teams is what I'm sharing with you here today. Great platform with Teams, and I've been able to use many of the other platforms, and some of the other platforms are good, and they have some of the things that are benefits from them, but benefits for them and their platforms. But I will tell you, in my own personal experience, Microsoft Teams is really the only app that I've found that has just a full integration between the platform and all of the different apps. And it just makes it easy to do really, really great work and bring people together. And then, of course, there's a video conferencing tool within that. And of course, that's how we're communicating here. So, all right, Microsoft To Do, you guys know that have been on sessions before with me. This is one of my personal favorites. Microsoft To Do. I really, really like this one. Syncs across all your devices, tablet, cell phone, computer. I have it synced to all of mine. Really one of my favorites. But I will tell you, honestly, there are not a lot of people that know about this app, Microsoft To Do. It's kind of a sleeper app. So if you're not familiar with it, when the session is over, go check it out on the App Store of your operating system. If you're on Android, Google Play, or if you're on Apple, go there, or Microsoft Store, and download Microsoft To Do. Download that app. Great app. I really, really, really like it. Of course, it says there, open the web app. You can do that one as well. So, Mile IQ, I bet you didn't know that that was part of the Microsoft family. If you've been in my sessions before, you've heard me share that. If you haven't and you're new to the series and to some of my sessions, you may not have known that Mile IQ, an app that a lot of people have used to track mileage. I've used it before in the past to track mileage. Great app. Really has a really slick way, a really nice way of really packaging all the information that you need if you're a person that tracks mileage often for whatever the reasons are. And that is part of the Microsoft family. Some of you may not have known that. All right, so guiding question. We're going to start out with that, as I always do. Same guiding question, and I like it because it really applies to everything that we're doing. How can we use innovation and empowerment in our roles to advance student achievement? Now, you don't necessarily have to go ahead and respond or answer right now in the chat to that guiding question. Really, for us, the guiding question is something that is really intended to do just that. It's supposed to help our thinking as we go through the process of all of the things that we're going to share today. And let me tell you right now, I am really, really, really excited to share this information with you. I really am. And one of the things we're going to be doing here as we go through the time of sharing is really looking at some of the things that we have shared in previous sessions in this series. Unfortunately, because of time constraints, I can't go back and do a full review on each of the sessions, but we will be looking at some of those things that we've shared before in the past. In the world of education, we would call that activating prior learning for those that have been on those sessions. But we're going to reach back and take different parts of those previous sessions, and we're going to use that to really provide us with context, both for those that were on those sessions and maybe those that, for whatever the reasons were, maybe they didn't catch those. And once we have that context as we go throughout, it's going to help us to go ahead and go deeper and really, to do this, connect the dots. And that's what we want to do, because that's the beginning of how we make the difference and really have transformative practices. So 3 high impact levers for teaching and leadership. I love to share these each time. I'm going to share them with you again. Number 1 is competence. You don't have to know everything, but you do have to know some things. It's really hard to have confidence in someone if they don't have competence. Let me say that one again. It's really hard to have confidence in someone if they don't have competence. So we need to be able to show some degree of competence. Number 2, communication. That's always an important one. And obviously, as you guys know, if you've been on my sessions before, that one of the things that I mentioned that maybe we don't think about as much is nonverbal communication. That's a big one. Nonverbal communication. Number 3 is connection. Without connection, you really don't have anything. And I was on a video conference call earlier today with a mentor of mine, right? Because I absolutely believe in the power of mentorship. And so I have mentors in my own life as well. And I will tell you guys a quick story. I was on this video conference call with his mentor of mine, and we were looking at some things in the future and really discussing some ways in which we can have future impact to really reach people literally around the globe. Very similar to this project with the great folks of Microsoft EDU and Q. And one of the things my mentor mentioned to me on this video conference call earlier today was this. They said, Vernon, it's really about the connection. And there are a lot of things that we can do, but the connection must be the foundation. And that's one of the reasons why this particular mentor really means a lot to me in my life, because we really have many different parallels and really align in some areas almost like twins. Although we don't look like twins, we align almost like twins in terms of our perspectives. And so connection is everything. And I just want to say real quick before we go any further, thank you all so much for being on these sessions. It means so much to me personally because the connection is everything to me. I mean, there are a lot of people out there in the space, and there are a lot of people saying a lot of things and a lot of good things that are being said. But for me, it's not just about sharing things that are of value. It's about making the connection with you and adding value. But the connection always has to be there. So you say the same three high impact levers, but with a twist. Let's go ahead and take a look at them again. Number one is connection, but notice what I did this time. I said connection, but authentic and aligned. It has to be real. We have to make an authentic connection with people. It can't be manufactured. And even if it's not manufactured, it can't be perceived as manufactured. It has to be authentic. It must be aligned. What are we trying to do? What are they trying to do? What are their goals? What are their dreams? What are their visions? I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I just kind of gave you a sneak peek there as to some of the things that we're going to be talking about later. But the connection must be authentic and aligned. Number two is impact. You know that if you've been on sessions with me before, I simply state that impact is this: adding value to people's lives. In other words, am I helping them to go ahead and achieve or obtain whatever their end results, desired outcomes, or dreams, or goals, or visions are? If I'm helping them to be able to do those things and accomplish those things, that is impact because I'm adding value. Number three is scale. How many of you know that once we see people really experience great things as a result of some of the things we've been able to contribute to and make possible, one of the most exhilarating feelings is being able to think about how can I help other people experience the same joy. And that's one of the things that I will share with you personally that really drives me. And it's something that really is very important to me. And I know that it's very important to you because it's one of the reasons why you're here on this call, because it really, really, really makes a difference. And so I just want to go ahead and share that with you. It's about scale, right? But what do we have to have before scale? We have to have the authentic aligned connection, and we must be making the impact. Because if we have a great connection, but we don't have impact and we try to scale, well, then what are we scaling? We're not really scaling anything, right? So we have to have that impact and value in order for us to scale. All right, so next, what does stand by me mean to you as we begin our time of sharing today? What does stand by me mean to you as we begin our time of sharing today? If you would in the chat, just go ahead and type that for me. What does stand by me mean to you as we begin our time of sharing today? Thank you so much again to Microsoft EDU and Q Inc. for making this possible. This is wonderful. Really looking forward to seeing what the responses are. James says true friendship. Oh man, James, I really, really like that one. So good to see you again, James. Shout out to you there, my friend. Good to see you again. Always love having you on the sessions. Love having all of you here on the sessions. True friendship. What does stand by me mean to you as we begin our time of sharing today? You know, there's a song that says that. Of course, I won't dare to try to sing that for you because I'm not a singer. That is not in my wheelhouse. I assure you of that. But a lot of people know Stand By Me, that term from that song. It's being actively present in someone's space. Yes, Beckwith says that. Very, very good. That's a good one. LaCondria, thank you so much for that. Hugo, support one another. You're right on target with that, Hugo. That's good. Authentic alignment. Yes. A, you're right on the mark with that, A, about authentic alignment. That's good. Good, 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 good. What does stand by me mean? Well, here's what we're going to do as we go through today. We're going to be sharing about a lot of different things, including this phrase, stand by me, this term, this phrase, if you will. And we're going to try to go ahead and give us not only the context that we have now, but really add to that context and go deeper, right? I'm just so excited because I'm really passionate about sharing about these things and so glad that you all are here so that I can share with you. And let me say this too. You may be saying, Vernon, I'm watching this. I wasn't there at the time of the live session, but I'm watching this on the replay. It's just as good as you being here with us. We would love to have you with us here in real time. But if you're watching this on the replay right now, thank you to you as well for being on here with us. You matter just as much as everyone here with us on the live session. So thank you for doing that. And I will tell you what I do sometimes, right? Can I go ahead and be authentic with you here as we share? Sometimes, even if I'm in a session, I will go back and watch the replay. Because how many times do you know that, and how many of you know that when you watch something the second or third time, you get even more information from it. So there's value in the replay.
Very
All right.
true.
Okay. All right. So stand by me and real empowerment. Let's take a look at that. Stand by me and real empowerment are about changing our lens. That lens allows us to see opportunities where we can actively live out showing our support as leaders, right? We're talking about stand by me and real empowerment. Real leaders share in and support the vision of those they lead. It becomes a collaborative vision. They also look for opportunities to partner with others in their decision making and ownership. They're looking for those opportunities. Okay. So if you say, you know what, Vernon, when I look at real empowerment, what does real empowerment mean? What do real leaders do? What does stand by me mean? Right. For a lot of us, guess where the starting point is? The starting point is about changing our lens. What lens are we looking at all of this through? Because as we change that lens, guess what it allows us to do? If any of you have been involved in photography, or whether you had a standalone camera, or even if you just use the camera that's built into your cell phone, you know that most cell phone cameras, I think all of them have them now to some degree, to varying degrees, I should say. They have a zoom feature on them, and then they have some type of wide angle feature. So you know that depending upon whether you zoom in or you use the wide angle feature, you're able to capture different perspectives. And so changing our lens is how we really get a deeper concept and a deeper understanding of what Stand By Me is about. And one of the things I really wanted to share about real empowerment is this, because real empowerment is an integral part of Stand By Me. Let me say that again, because if you're taking notes, which of course I'm sure that you all are, you want to make sure that you get this down. Real empowerment is an integral part of Stand By Me, of that concept of Stand By Me. Because if I'm standing by someone and I'm supporting someone, what's one of the things that I'm implicitly really supposed to be about? I'm really supposed to be about empowering that person. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but I really want to go ahead and share that about what real empowerment is, because there are a lot of people that are talking about empowerment. I empower people. Empowerment is really important to me. And I know that we're using a lot of the terms, right? But I don't necessarily know that we're all speaking from the same perspective, and a perspective that truly honors the essence. I like using that word a lot, the essence of what real empowerment is about. Let me go ahead and check the chat here real quick. Great things happening. Yes, Shaw says, definitely being supportive in the way someone needs you to support them in. Yes, absolutely. And guess what that means? And that is absolutely spot on there. Thank you for sharing that, Shaw. Is this: I have to get to know someone, like truly get to know them, right? I mean, you can ask questions about, hey, how was your summer? Did you go on vacation? And things like that, right? So that's kind of surface level information. But do I really know who that person is? beyond small talk. Once I get to know who that person is beyond small talk, I'm talking about, and I'll use myself as an example. There are many people that know me as Vernon Wright, but then there are others that know me as the real Vernon Wright, even on a deeper level. So if someone were to go up and ask them, hey, what are some of the visions and dreams that Vernon Wright has? They would be able to speak to some of those things because they've taken time to make that authentic connection with me. We talked about that earlier, right? Authentic connection. And if you're here with us and you say, man, Vernon, I missed it. I missed some of those slides. No problem. No big deal. You can always go back and watch the replay. Those will be coming out here soon. But we talked about that authentic connection. And so you have to have that so people can know who you are, because just like Shaw has said, that's how we're able to stand by someone, because I stand by them because I know what's important to them. How many of you know as leaders, or maybe you even have a leader right now, that you don't feel like they're really standing by you or supporting you because they've never really even taken the time to get to know who you are, right? How many of you know that you're more than just whatever your role or your leadership position or whatever your title says on an organizational chart? You're more than just that. You're an individual, you're a human being, right? And so real empowerment really too, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself, right? Because I'm so excited to share this information with you all today. Real empowerment also involves this: opportunities to partner with others in their decision making and ownership. Let me say that one again. Opportunities to partner with others in their decision making and ownership. If anyone talks to you about empowerment, and part of that dialogue or conversation is not about how others can participate in decision making and ownership, I dare say, and I challenge vehemently, whether what they're talking about is really true empowerment, right? All right, so let me go ahead and say very true. Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, good stuff here. I'm so excited to share this with you guys today. And I'll be sharing too, I shared this a few moments ago, I'll be sharing too tomorrow on another session about culturally relevant instruction, about basically, do you have the one in your life? And people kind of look at that title and they say, Vernon, that's that. I was thinking that was about something else. Well, sometimes I like to go ahead and approach things from an unorthodox standpoint to kind of capture people's attention, to bring them into the conversation and dialogue. But that one's really about, do we have that person that we can really connect with around culturally relevant instruction? That one's tomorrow. Make sure you check out the schedule at q.org/Microsoft. That's going to be a good one too. So what does it mean to have heart? We talked about this one on the last session. And again, unfortunately, because of time constraints, I don't have time to go back and do a review of everything that we talked about on the last session or really any of the previous sessions. But I did want to bring this one in and talk about this for just a little bit, right, before we go on to some other things. So what does it mean to have heart? I shared that. That was one of the slides from the last time. And so I'm going to ask this question: what building blocks make up what heart is? If you would go ahead and just kind of type that in the chat. Go ahead and type that in the chat. What building blocks make up what heart is? What building blocks make up what heart is? Somebody ask you, hey, I've got heart. What do you think that's made of? What do you think that means? All right, go ahead and check out the chat here. Courageousness, yes. Kindness and compassion, yes, absolutely. Love those. Great. Empathy, yes, absolutely. Grit, empathy, brave, kind, yes, all of those, yes. Isn't it interesting, as I'm sitting here and I'm just looking at just the phenomenal and fabulous responses that are being shared here? Isn't it interesting how the things that we're talking about, isn't it interesting how those things are really, again, what makes up what we call heart, but we don't always speak to those things as quote unquote, this is what heart is. We speak to them by their other names, as you all have shared here, but we don't always necessarily speak to them and say, you know what, this is how I get heart, right? This is what heart is about. So Thank you guys so much for sharing that. Being relevant, wanted to go ahead and share that. That's from one of the sessions that we had before as well. It's significant here. And one of the things I want to share with you all, and if you've been in previous sessions with me in this series, you know that this episode or installment is much the same. Each one of these series build upon each other. Now, you can watch them in any order, right? You don't necessarily have to watch them in sequential order, but do know that each one of these sessions takes that prior learning and we're building upon that. Now, notice, kind of jumping out of speaker mode here real quick and looking at it from an instructional standpoint, notice how they're interconnected, right? There's an interconnectedness between each of the sessions. You don't necessarily have to, again, watch them in order, but each one utilizes elements from a previous one, right? They're all interconnected. So relevant, and this is a good one. So, if you really want to have some fun, go ahead and ask a colleague or somebody that you know, maybe a few different colleagues, ask them, say, what do you think relevant means? And see kind of what response that you get. It says here from some different dictionary sources, having significant or demonstrable bearing on the matter at hand, bearing upon or connected with the matter at hand, pertinent. So the next time someone mentions being relevant, maybe that's something that you can have in your thinking to kind of guide your reflections on what they're saying. Now, I wanted to go ahead and include this about being relevant from my perspective, right? The right leader. In essence, being relevant is not about knowing the world around, not only knowing about the world around us, it's really about knowing our own life story and the life stories of others. And as we learn about those life stories of others and others share or we share with others our life stories, we're building bridges. We're building things that bring us together. And being relevant is absolutely a part of what? Being able to stand by someone, because I need to know again who that person is. And so being relevant, if you say, you know what, Vernon, man, that is a great point. I don't necessarily know that I've been as focused on being relevant as maybe I could have been in the last school year or maybe just in the last few years. Maybe that's something I want to look at in terms of, really honing my skills on that and really building my capacity in that. A great place to start in terms of being relevant. So I wanted to share this real quick. Just one idea. Just one idea can change your leadership, your impact, and your life forever. And I want to share that because as we're going through this session today, you might say, Vernon, maybe I've had some PD experiences before that maybe weren't the greatest. Maybe I really didn't feel like I got anything from them. I'm kind of maybe in this situation where I say, maybe I'm not just the most enthusiastic about PD sessions. If that fits you, if it doesn't, that's great. Very excited to have you here because you're excited about the learning. But if that does fit you, let me say this to you. One thing for you to think about, just one idea. There's one thing that is in what we're sharing today, just one thing that could be the difference maker and the game changer for what you're trying to do and accomplish in your life. Just one idea, folks. Just one idea from all the things that we're sharing together and exchanging in our ideas. Just one thing could be the difference maker. That could be the thing that changes your professional life forever in a profoundly positive way. So I want to challenge you to think about this at the end of the session when we come to a close in a little bit. What is your one thing? What is your one idea that is your idea that you're saying that you will be able to say, you know what, Vernon, this is the thing. This is the one idea that's going to be the game changer for me. And I will tell you that, you know what, in the past for me, sometimes it's been something that's been a new learning for me. Sometimes it's been something that hasn't been a new learning. Sometimes it's been something that I knew before, but someone talked about it from a different perspective. And it changed how I saw the same thing. So just one idea. I wanted to share that with you. When is a time that one idea made a difference and was a game changer in your life? If you would type that in the chat, when is a time that one idea made a difference and was a game changer in your life? When is a time, right? Give you a few moments to go ahead and just type that in the chat When is a time that one idea made a difference and was a game changer in your life? Now, I will tell you that for me, one idea that really was a game changer for me was, and this is going back to the days when I was in graduate school, I was an administrative intern. And so, going through this whole process of being an aspiring leader and working on that, and, going back to school and working on my master's degree, and, everything that all of that entails, right? And one of the pieces of advice that has been absolutely a game changer for me was when a mentor of mine told me, he said, Vernon, there are many different things in leadership that, you need to know. And very graciously, he took tremendously of his time to give to me and to share those things with me. Well, one thing that he shared with me is this. He said, become a master storyteller. Learn how to tell stories because stories are engaging. Stories bring people together from all different cultures, all different walks of life. Stories bring people together. And so that's one time when that's one idea that made a difference. And in this era and in this time and in this day globally, where we have so many calls for unity and so many people that are saying, you know what, there's so much going on in this world that we really need to come together. If there ever was a time, that time is now. I will say this, the sharing of stories that are uplifting stories are things that can bring us together, regardless of our backgrounds, regardless of our ethnicities. Those things can bring us together. That's one of the things that was shared with me that was a game changer. Let's check the chat here real quick. I attended a PD session, on a product, help teachers manage behavior, documented, okay. It was a suggestion that he attended, reluctantly went. Been in PD for 12 years, totally enamored. Wow. But can you believe that, ladies and gentlemen? Can you believe that? And let me go back to this slide here real quick. One went there reluctantly. How many of you know that you've gone to do something reluctantly, and at the end of it, you've said to yourself, I'm glad I went. I'm glad I did it. How many of you know if you're kind of into the gym thing, even those that are really passionate about the gym, and I've had those moments myself that, you say, you know what, I'm going to go to the gym, and you're really not excited about going to the gym. And maybe you're just saying to yourself, I'm just going to try to get through this session. If I can just get through this gym session, right? I'm going to give myself maybe about 5 or 10 minutes to kind of get into it, and we'll just kind of see how this goes. And you go, and you have one of the best workouts ever. And this example here that this person has shared with us, that they've been in K-12 EdTech PD for 12 years. 12 years. And it all started with something that was just one idea. It was just one thing that happened. They went, they took action. And this session is really not about taking action in your life, but I do want to share this because it means so much that this person shared this with us. And thank you for sharing that story. It means a lot to all of us and to me as well. Is sometimes when we take action to push ourselves and to go anyway, it can be something that's a breakthrough. And that makes such a big deal. And I just want to share that. Such a big deal. That is so awesome. That is so great. Let's see what James says here. James says, when a colleague suggested that I run just one club in the school, she said that would make the difference for students. I now run the majority of the clubs in our school. It makes such an impact on me as well as my students. Yes, that is phenomenal. That is great. You just set out to say, you know what? Hey, I'll do it because somebody asked me to do it. Maybe I'm not really excited about it. And then guess what happened? It turned out to be this really great experience. Now I'm going to share something with you, kind of going back to something we shared earlier, right? And that's this, right? So catch this. If you're taking notes, make sure you catch this. The last two stories we shared, they're about running a school club, right? How many of us have, in our careers have been responsible for either running the school club, being the head sponsor, or maybe, a co-sponsor of a club, right? And then also to going to a PD session and that turning into a career over 12 years. How many of you know that what happened in both of those stories, although they're different, was in the process of going through that experience, an authentic connection was made? And I want to share this again, not the scope of this session, but I would be remiss if I didn't say this, right? And that's this. When things are extraordinary in your life and they really mean a lot to you in your life, and it's a big thing to you in your life, every single time an authentic connection and value has been made with you and your perception of that experience. And so I just want to share that with you. Wonderful stories. Thank you both for sharing those. It means so much. And that's one of the reasons why, when that mentor shared with me many years ago about really becoming someone who really worked on my storytelling skills, that was a great piece of advice, because that's really brought people together in my life. And that's the power of stories right there. And thank you both for sharing your stories. And that really brings us to the next one, which is shine the spotlight. Who are we shining the spotlight on? Are we looking to shine the spotlight on ourselves or on others? One of the real indicators of a leader's impact is how many people they've shined the light on so others can be elevated. Shining the spotlight. I want you to think about that. If you're a person in leadership, I want you to think to yourself, when is the last time that I shined the spotlight on someone? If it's been a while, maybe that's time for you to say, you know what, I need to go back and I need to think about what are all the opportunities that I have now and in the future to shine the spotlight on someone. If you're someone that says, you know what, Vernon, I have a person that is over me as a supervisor, I want you to think about this. When is the last time the supervisor, your supervisor, shined the spotlight on you in a positively profound way that elevated you? I want you to think about that. Something to think about there. So when was a time that a leader took the opportunity to shine the spotlight on you in an uplifting way? If you would, in the chat, just go ahead and type that in. Yeah, absolutely. Time to get that spotlight out and start shining it on others. Absolutely. And I'm going to share a little bit more about that here in a second, because we're talking about Stand By Me, right? Stand By Me. What does that mean? That has to be more than the popular song. I love the song. And there was a movie by the name of that as well, right? But what does that mean in the context of what we do every day in terms of leadership? And this thing called it learning experience, a learning experience. So when was a time that a leader took the opportunity to shine the spotlight on you in an uplifting way? If you would just go ahead and type that in the chat, that would be great. Would love to hear whatever stories you have on when a leader took the opportunity to shine the spotlight on you in an uplifting way. Give you a few moments to go ahead and type that in. I will tell you that one of the opportunities that I had when a leader took the opportunity to shine the spotlight on me, right? And I will tell you, it meant so much to me. I was an administrative intern at the time, and I was working with the leadership team on some different things at that particular school. And the principal had given me, who was the senior leader on our campus at the time, he had given me a process, a system to be the lead person over. I was the point person over it from the administrative team. And typically, it was something that he would have been the person that would have been the contact person for it. And in the process of this, he said, Vernon, this is yours. I trust you wholeheartedly. I trust you. That's another thing about Stand By Me is trust. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. But he said, I totally trust you. You have my utmost trust that you will do the right thing. I have full faith and confidence in you. And if anyone asks me about this, I'm going to send them to you. And so, sure enough, some teachers went to the principal and they said, well, Mr. So-and-so, we have a question about this, this, and this. We know you're the lead person. And he said, no. He said, I'm not the lead person. He said, Vernon is the lead person. I have full faith and confidence and trust in him. Whatever he says to do, that's what we're going to do as a whole campus and as a team. And when he did that to me, I really didn't necessarily know that that was really him shining the spotlight on me. I knew that it was him having a lot of confidence and faith in me. And I was very appreciative of that. But now, years later, right, looking back through that lens, we talked about, the lenses that we looked through earlier today in this session, this time of sharing. I now understand that he was shining the spotlight on me in an uplifting way. And he was showing and telling people that, I have confidence in Vernon, full faith. And that really meant a lot to me. And I still stay in touch with that leader to this day. He has gone on to do some really, really great and impactful things in education at higher levels. But we still stay in contact very closely to this day. And I appreciate him for having done that so much. Beckwith says, by giving me praise or kudos for the work I did with a group of teachers in raising student proficiency. Isn't that wonderful? Let me just tell you this right now. Isn't it wonderful to work in a place where you're recognized? Isn't it wonderful to get up in the morning and you say, you know what, I stayed up late working on something. I got up early to work on something. I worked on something when it wasn't within quote unquote office hours. And I know that I'm going to be recognized. It feels so good. That is great. Let's see what Shaw says. And it says, I can remember my principal sending other teachers to my classroom to see how great my classroom management was. He felt I should go into administration. I did. My colleagues really felt I was making a difference, and it was just because I showed my kiddos I cared first. Wow. It wasn't magic. It did take time. M. Monique Shaw. Thank you so much, M. Monique Shaw, for sharing that. What a powerful story. Notice how the leader shining the spotlight. Notice how it made those people feel. The two individuals here who have shared their stories with us, thank you all so much for sharing those with us. It means so much to me personally, and it means so much to us here as a group in this time of sharing. And even to be very honest with you, to those people that are watching this on the replay, it means a lot to them because it touches their heart, just like it touches ours. Whether they're watching live or they're watching on the replay, it's touching their heart. And thank you so much for sharing that. And it's really cool because when we shine the spotlight on other people, it affirms them. And sometimes that affirmation is the very thing that is that threshold watershed moment that helps them go to the next level, just because we took the opportunity to shine the spotlight on someone else in an uplifting way. That is awesome. Love those stories. Real leaders during these days globally, and I'll share with you what it says down there at the bottom. It says, real leaders check on those they lead, not for any purpose, but to check on them as human beings. This is the stand by me concept in action. When COVID happened, and really COVID caused really everyone in education to shift their paradigms, whether they wanted to or not. And that's something else I could talk about for a good little while, but we really have time constraints here, so I can't really get into that. But I will say this. During that time of shifting and that time when everyone literally across the globe, and we're still dealing with that as a globe, right? We're still dealing with that globally now, the pandemic, and issues of unity and calls for unity to bring everyone to come together. Real leaders check on people. And so I want to ask you this question. When is the last time someone that was a leader over you, a supervisor, we want to be careful about how I use the word leader, because I'm going to go ahead and give us a little bit of context on that here in a little bit. But when is the last time that your supervisor called you or texted you and said, you know what, I just want to check on you. How are you doing? I'm not calling you or texting you to ask you, can you do something for me, and to email me something, or to text me something, or to tell me what the answer is to something. I'm just checking on you because you're a human being and you mean much to me. How are you doing? No, I'm not calling about anything about schoolwork. I'm not calling about a lesson plan. I'm not talking about something that needs to be submitted to someone else, something that needs to come up that needs to be shown to senior leadership. I'm not calling about any of that or texting about any of that. I'm just calling and texting to check on you. No titles, just one human being to another human being. That's powerful. And if you're a leader, you should be doing that periodically for everyone that you lead. Just check on them periodically. How are you doing? And I will tell you that as you start this, if you say, you know what, Vernon, let me just be totally authentic with you. I haven't been doing this. I need to start doing that. When you start doing it, here's what you're going to find. You may find that people ask you, when you reach out to them, they may ask you, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, or however they greet you, or if they greet you by your title or what have you. They may ask you, yes, is there something you need for me to do? Is there something I can do to help you? Is there something you need? How can I help you? How can I be of service, right? They're asking these questions with an expectation that maybe you're going to ask them to do something. So when you reach out to people, if that's the expectation, they may be a little surprised when you tell them, you know what, I'm not calling because I want anything or need anything. I'm just calling to check on you, because these are turbulent times that we're living in as a world. And I just want to make sure that I'm checking on you, human being to human being. And what does that go back to? That goes back to that authentic connection that we talked about earlier. Real leaders check on those they lead. This is how we stand by each other. So when we say stand by me, if a leader says, yes, I stand by the people that I lead, one of the things that you can ask yourself is, when is the last time that leader reached out to people to say, hey, I'm just checking on you. How are you doing? Are you okay? And it means a lot to people. It really, really does. Our leaders making sure that others have a seat at the decision-making table. We stand by others in many ways. One way is giving them opportunities to be heard and to be part of the ownership. And this kind of gets into what we were talking about earlier about empowerment. And it's quite powerful, because as we continue to talk about empowerment in many circles, and some of those circles have that context of equity and unity and racial disparities, and how do we deal with implicit bias and some of these other things. One of the real questions that we have to ask ourselves collectively across the globe is, are we making it possible for others to be at the decision-making table? Are we making it possible for others to have a seat, to be there, to be involved in the dialogue, to know what's happening, to have a say, a substantive say? So when we say we stand by others and we're about empowering others, are we giving other voices opportunities to be heard, and not just to be heard, but to be part of the ownership of that process, true ownership, to really have a say? And that's part of how we really show stand by me, which is that concept and real empowerment. What does interconnectedness mean to you? I will simply say this: interconnectedness means this, just like the word says, we're all connected to each other. And I just wanted to share this slide to you because this is one of those foundation principles that really matters. I mean, it really, really, really does. And I wanted to put this towards the end of our time of sharing today, and not necessarily at the beginning. And the reason why I wanted to do that is I wanted to share a lot of all of this with you, but then also come right back to something that was a basic element. And that is that we're all interconnected as human beings, regardless of titles, regardless of an organizational chart, regardless of whether you've been in the business 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, what have you. Whether you work on a campus, whether you work at a district level, whether you work at a regional level, a state level, maybe you even work at a national level, or you work internationally. We're all interconnected. So that's something to go ahead and keep in mind. You may even want to ask colleagues that as you go into the new school year. What does interconnectedness mean to you? It's very powerful. What thing has to be present and established for people to feel relevance between each other? It's trust. It's trust. And if you have not established trust, and again, that's one of those integral values that must be present, it's going to be very difficult. I don't want to say impossible, but it's going to be very difficult to accomplish so many of these other things that we've talked about in the Reflection of a Leader series. Trust is huge. How can we build trust? You all know that I have the 3 questions. What are you working on right now that you're passionate about? Why is that meaningful to you, and what impact do you think it can have? And number 3, what difference do you think it can make as it relates to the school or district's vision and mission? I like to share these 3 questions in each of the sessions here in this series. They're questions that, as I call them, the big 3 that I have shared for years in different speaking engagements in different venues. And if you're a leader and you've not asked those 3 questions of those you lead, if it's been a while, or if you've never asked them at all, put those 3 questions into your toolbox and really think about, what do those 3 questions mean to everyone? What do they mean to someone that's in food services? What do they mean to someone that's in transportation who maybe, is responsible for kids, making sure that they get on the right bus routes and that they make it to where they need to make it to safely? What does it mean to your school secretaries? What does it mean to them? What does it mean to administrative assistants? What does it mean to teachers? What does it mean to counselors? Here's something maybe you don't think about maybe as often. What does it mean to school resource officers who are part of the protection in our schools? The big 3 questions, great for your toolbox. Your credibility and experience, an accurate assessment, shining the light. You see that shining the light there is the 3rd part. All things that are part of the big 3 and going deeper. One of the things I want to share with you as well is each one of these things that we've talked about, and you see they're in the different circles. Being real and authentic, we've talked about that. Being competent, we've talked about that. Being caring, we've talked about that. Several of you have mentioned empathy, and that's very, very important. It's critical. It's essential. All of these things are part of emotional intelligence, because what really is truly emotional intelligence? Part of emotional intelligence is understanding where are people at in real time with their thoughts, with their emotions, with everything that's going on with them. Where are they at that moment in time? And not only where are they at that moment in time, what do they need from me? Which is the stand by me concept once again. That's real emotional intelligence, not just walking around happy all the time. Some people think that's emotional intelligence or EQ. No, it's understanding where people are and understanding as a leader, what does that person need and what can I do to provide that for that person in that moment in real time? Yes, looking here at the chat, everybody is somebody and has something to offer. Absolutely. So true. So very, very true. There are many pieces to leadership and influence. Aligning those pieces is important, making sure that we walk what we talk. Yeah, if you're going to put the pieces of the puzzle together, everybody better be walking what they're talking. Yeah, that's how the pieces fit together. Now, when that doesn't happen, you have puzzle pieces that don't fit together and we don't have alignment. And that's how we get out of alignment, right? We bloom when we live in and operate in environments that have these elements. A lot of people talk about, what can it be, Vernon? How can we create these environments where we have high performing teams that excel, teams that just, they go so far beyond what anyone could have expected in terms of performance and innovation and doing just really awesome things at these super levels. How do we do that? By incorporating these elements. And when we incorporate these elements, that's when we bloom. Because guess what? The culture has been established for us to bloom. So there, just as you see that flower and that flower is blooming and that flower is opening up, when we create those environments for people to really do their best work, the best work ever of their lives, work that is passionate to them, work that drives them, work that excites them, work that is exhilarating to them, we've created the conditions for them to bloom. And really, to be very honest with you, when each person wakes up and when they go to bed at night and everywhere in between, let me assure you that whether they want to say it or not, or whether they do say it or not, one of their desires is to bloom, because that's what they're called to do, is to bloom in what they do best as educators. Real leaders and vision. Real leadership is well beyond a title, well beyond. It's about expanding the vision of others. If we're real leaders, part of what we do each day is elevating the voices of others and enlarging their vision. That's what real leaders do. Real leaders take a vision and they advance the vision and they make the vision bigger. They make it more exciting. They make it more inviting. They make it a compelling vision where people, they don't have to bring people into the vision. People are drawn to the vision. That's what real leaders do. Vision paves the way for the extraordinary. People want to always talk about wanting to do the extraordinary, but what's the vision? Has the vision been communicated? Do we know what the vision is? That paves the way for the extraordinary. And I will share this with you. I've had many managers, but few leaders. I want to share that one and say that one again. I've had many managers, but few leaders. What was the difference, Vernon, between managers and leaders? The leaders were connected to vision. They were talking about vision. They were sharing vision. They were engaging others in vision. They were living out vision daily. That's what real leaders do. Next steps. What does all of this mean? What's my role in it? What can I do? What's my potential impact? If you've been with me before, you know one of the things that I like to go ahead and end with is the bottom line. And that's this. Stand By Me is about supporting those we lead. Shining the spotlight on others is what real leaders do. Yeah, they shine the spotlight. That's what real leaders do. If you find someone who is calling themselves a leader and they're shining the spotlight on themselves and not on others, I question whether that person is a real leader. Shining the spotlight on others is what real leaders do. Real empowerment is about not only standing by and supporting those we lead, it's about elevating their voices. That too is what real leaders do. As always, we can start with the big three questions to invite others into dialogue, because real results come from real dialogue. Let me say that again. If you're taking notes, real results come from real dialogue. It has been my pleasure to be with you all here today. Of course, there, as it says, I'm Vernon Wright, @ the Right Leader on Twitter. It has been my pleasure to be with you. If what I've shared with you today has been impactful, and you say, you know what, Vernon, it's resonated with me, let me say this first of all. I'm so grateful and I'm immensely blessed to have been with you all here today, whether you've been here live in the session or you say, you know what, Vernon, I'm watching this on replay. To both of you, thank you. Thank you so much. If you want to catch those sessions again, go to q.org/Microsoft for the sessions that are coming up. If you want to catch the replays, go to q.org/GETA recording. As you tweet out, would love to have you tweet out about the things that have been impactful to you. Use the hashtags Microsoft EDU, hashtag GETA, and hashtag WeAreQ, and make sure you tag me on those. Would love to share those with the PLN. Thank you so much. It has been an honor to be with you all here today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Such an honor. Thank you all so much.